You know what's kind of amazing? No matter how innocuous a game or a game's release is, the games journalism and media will always find a way to make a controversy out of it because controversy sells, and controversy is the only way they can get people to come back clicking on their dogshit websites and articles to get that little bits of tens of cents of ad revenue. So welcome back to Words Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol, and yes, Wuchang is the next victim of the Polygon curse. Wuchang Fallen Feathers makes the same mistake as Stellar Blade. I will give all of you 3 guesses as to what that mistake is. Style is well and good, but it needs to be backed up by substance, which is truly ironic coming from a website and an article that has no substance and is just using Wuchang to actually retread the ground of Stellar Blade, which is a year-old story that nobody even cares about anymore. That being said, there are some interesting double standards and hypocrisy in this article that I do want to call out, and I find fun to call out. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are a nerdy news channel. We cover nerdy news nearly every day. And let's just get to the nitty-gritty, shall we? Once again, the discourse around a promising action game has been hijacked, not by its gameplay, music, or setting, but by debates over its main character's appearance. Now, can anybody tell me what the problem with this opening sentiment is? Anyone at all? Yes, you in the comments section. That's right! They are adding to this discourse that they're complaining about, either too blind to see what they are doing, too stupid to realize what they're doing, or not caring because money is more important than anything else. Maybe we could actually go option D, all of the above. But yes, once again, the discourse around a promising action game has been hijacked. You're the one writing an article about it, which means you are contributing to this hijacked discourse. But no, these sorts of games journalists like Jazz Stewart here, I would imagine it's okay for them to do it because they're games journalists. They're in the media. They speak with a position of authority. So no, they're not hijacking this conversation. They're not adding to the conversation. They are just using the bastion of journalistic integrity that they are to explain the discourse. And no, you got an agenda behind you. Like, read the article. It's very apparent. Following the July 24 release of Wuchang Fallen Feathers, Souls-like players rejoice at the arrival of yet another competent action game to join the repertoire. Wuchang Fallen Feathers may not rival genre greats like Lies of P or most of From Software's catalog, but it's mechanically sound. You know what? Fair enough. Sounds about like what I've been hearing from everybody else. Hey, it's a fun game. Not groundbreaking, not genre breaking. It's fun. Isn't that fine? Like, again, there's really no reason to cover Wuchang because by all accounts from the folks that have played it that I've heard of, it's fine. It's fun. That's all games need to be. Not every game needs to be some, genre-defining, groundbreaking, pivotal moment in the annals of gaming history. Like, no. No, most games should be like, hey, you like action stuff? You like babes? Cool. Buy our game. It's got babes. It's got action stuff. Y'all really overcomplicating it and then making that overcomplication sound like a negative. Wuchang Fallen Feathers has an interesting setting. It tries to do something different with the Souls-like formula through unique mechanics and even has a decent implementation of skill tree for Souls-like progression. Now, to be fair, I'm not a Souls-like fan. I don't have anything against Souls-like games. There's not really I've never had like an opportunity to, dive into them. I played Lies of P. I loved Lies of P. It was one of the best games I played, the 2023 when it came out. Like, I truly enjoyed it. But also, there's nothing about that style of game that does call to me and be like, oh, I have to check this out instantly. Whether it be Wuchang, even though she's like sexy main character, or the original Dark Souls game. I played Dark Souls 2 once several years ago, deciding to like take a shot every time I died. I don't remember much beyond the first 30 minutes of the game, if I'm being entirely honest with you guys. But by the same token, I like horror games, like platformer games. I like fighting games. So yeah, hack and slash is very much up my alley. Things like Devil May Cry, things like the original God of War, or Dante's Inferno. And by all accounts, by the way, maybe this is more of a hack and slash game because it feels like these articles don't actually know the difference between them. They just label everything as Souls-like. As you'll see a little further in the list, the discussion online isn't about the game's bona fides. No, instead fans and detractors have both dedicated their energies to arguing about Bai Wuchang, the conventionally attractive protagonist of Fallen Feathers. Notice how they put conventionally attractive. They're not going to put attractive. They're going to put conventionally attractive because if they were just to put attractive, they would be pretty much acknowledging that everything that normal folks say is correct. Like, they have to add the conventionally in there because that is their caveat. That is their out. Like, hey, we may not agree she's attractive. However, objectively, she's conventionally attractive when you look at the history of what, people have liked to see in movies and comics and video games. It's such a cop-out. I find it hilarious. The small but vocal contingents of the "this game was Gunnerslop" crowd and the "finally real gaming is background" spent days leading up to Wuchang's release arguing on social media. Now, hold on. Honest question for you, Polygon. If you in your own article are saying small but vocal contingents, why is it worth writing an article? I mean, could it possibly be because, again, without controversy, you have nothing, and therefore you need to manufacture controversy to have something? Because that's what this reads to me. Guys, I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to lay it on the table. I'm going to keep it a buck. I've not really heard people talk about this game one way or the other, aside from saying they enjoyed it. Like it is that simple. I've heard several of my friends have played it. They bought it. Some of them have even beaten it already. Machines. And they say it's fine. They had a good time with it. That's all the discourse ever really need to be. By you saying there's a small but vocal contingent of insert anything here, you are trying to manufacture controversy to get more people to be outspoken and vocal, regardless of what the side they're on. Because you know what? If the side that you agree with, the anti-Gunnerslop or whatever it is, if they start being vocal in that movement, they start talking about it, the movement blows up, a discourse on X, on the internet or whatever blows up, now you have so much more to pull from. You say, oh, well, look at what everybody is saying on this side. Or conversely, if the pro-Gunner side starts speaking up and they become a vocal majority or whatnot, now you can write an article about how did gaming come this far? What are all these fake gamers, these conservatives who pretend to be gamers? Insert whatever politically charged controversy ad you want to write. Point is, this manufactured controversy that you are trying to manufacture is really just a way for you to continue the longevity of your source of slop articles, ironically enough, when you call people like us slop tubers. But even then, you don't have that much power. No one's clicking on a Polygon article and getting all pissed off and upsay spaghetti. It is kind of amazing. They spent the days leading up to Wuchang's release arguing on social media. The discussion continued even after the release of watching all of it unfold has only reminded me of Stellar Blade, one of the standout Souls-likes of 2024. One of these standout Souls-likes. Alright, couple things. One, out the gate, Stellar Blade not a fucking Souls-like. It might have some Souls-like elements, I don't even want to say Souls-like. It might have some elements in it that are also in Souls-like games, but guess what? There's a lot of elements shared amongst a lot of games. You can roll in fucking Legend of Zelda. That doesn't mean rolling in Dark Souls is actually, it's a Zelda-like. Like, no. Stellar Blade is actually more of a hack-and-slash game, a traditional hack-and-slash a la Devil May Cry, than it is a Souls-like. But again, because you guys aren't real gamers, or because you feel the need to label everything as Souls-like because that's what clicks in the algorithm, you're either being willfully ignorant, don't know gaming, or just flat out lying. Also, one of these standout games of 2024, you and your ilk spent months, if not over a year, in the lead up to Stellar Blade, denouncing and trashing the game and trashing the people that were very much looking forward to the game for whatever reason, whether it be because of the big booty Android babe or whether it be because, hey, people like me love Devil May Cry games and are tired of the Souls-like sort of oversaturation of the market and just want to play good hack-and-slash games again. We were all the same to you. Anybody who was excited for Stellar Blade must have just been Gunnerslop, right-wing Republican, hates fucking minorities in video games, hates fat people. And don't get me wrong, I do hate fat people, but that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, you don't get to do some revisionist history bullshit and say that it was one of the standout games when you spent the large majority of its pre-release trying to sabotage said game. Again, going so far as to call it Souls-like, which it even isn't. Now, this next section right here is just like a rehash of what happened on the lead up to Stellar Blade. Who cares? We don't need to go through that shit again. I ain't up here ready to just start like doing the greatest hits of Gamergate. When Lindsay Games initially revealed Wuchang Fallen Feathers in 2021, it portrayed a female warrior in historical attire, and unfortunately the crowd went mild. Well, by the same token, like, let's be real. Think back to all the big releases or big, not even releases, but reveals of 2021. Can you guys remember any of them? No? No, there's a reason for that. Gaming been pretty stale for a while. It's only been like 2023 and onward where it's felt like we might have a truly fresh revitalization of the art form, discounting, you know, the occasional AA game or indie game that struck it big that reminded us there is still some sort of artistic integrity in this medium. A Reddit thread from the time was highly critical of the game's Souls-inspired design, criticizing how its animations appear directly ripped from Dark Souls. So I don't care what it was like in 2021. I care what it's like now in 2025. However, as time went on, the discussion shifted as the developers of Wuchang progressively made buy more appealing, citing Stellar Blade as a clear inspiration. Good. That means they want to sell. Do your job to make your fucking game sell. And I don't want to hear none of this, well, Stellar Blade didn't actually sell that well in America. It was bought mostly in Korea and in the Asian markets. Who fucking cares? Sales is sales. I bet Wuchang's the same way. It's going to do fine in America. Most of the sales going to come from China, going to come from South Korea, going to come from Japan. A successful game is a successful game. It does not matter where the sale came from. Look, if I'm in a band and I'm a one-hit wonder in America, which is one hit song, but I've got like 12 fucking hits in Japan and that shit blows up, if that's enough to sustain my career doing what I love my entire life and I can be fucking famous in Japan or whatever, like Homeboy that did, like the Scatman, for example, that's fine. Like, this weird mentality of where sales come from is, oh, it's so-and-so in America. That doesn't matter. The point is, drawing inspiration from Stellar Blade, which was an objectively successful game, that's not a losing scenario. With this change, feedback from the reactionaries pivoted away from the game's mechanics, vibe, and feel, and instead focused on how the game allegedly received lower review scores because buy was in more revealing outfits, which is a thing that has been happening over the past God knows how many years, so it's a fair worry or criticism to have. Yeah, absolutely. Being like, man, this game, because it got a sexy woman in it, will probably be trashed the same way Stellar Blade was, despite your revisionist history. Definitely a fair concern. Unfortunately, that's exactly what played out in response to Xbox Era's Wuchang review, which listed the phrase Gooner approved as both a pro and a con. An obvious joke that provoked predictable reactions from some of social media's personalities. Look, you can call it a joke all you want. Maybe it was a joke, maybe it wasn't. I'm inclined to believe it wasn't. Why? Because y'all hate Gooners. People in this mainstream being a loose word here, video game media, journalism, also being used very loosely here, y'all hate the fact that gamers are speaking about what they want because you spent years upon years trying to tell gamers what they should want and force a change that is not there was not a natural evolution of the gaming industry, but no, instead of trying to force shoehorned in changes to meet whatever the social standard of the generation is. And needless to say, when gamers put their foot down and they were tired of it, y'all got up say spaghetti, you started calling them gooners, started saying all this negative shit and whatnot, and then you put gooner approved as a con. Now, maybe it was a joke, but let's be real. This is one of those jokes that is veiling the fact that it is not a joke whatsoever. This is what people that do these game reviews and are in this sort of gaming journalism space actually do believe. The fact that this game was Gooner approved is a con. It got 9.5 or 9 out of 10 or whatever, with the only con being Gooner approved. Meaning, if the chick was ugly looking, this would have been a 10 out of 10 game for these freaks. Now, let's be real. Does that make any sort of sense? No, not at all. It's pure, again, this is all manufactured bullshit. Now the game's in the hands of players. Its Metacritic score paints the picture of the game that's fine. Which is exactly what I said. And there's nothing wrong with that. Literally nothing wrong with that at all. I would much rather play a game that is fine than a game that insults me both as a customer and as a gamer. Most products are just fine. Rarely, like not even in gaming, just most products in general, as long as they do their job, they're fine. And that's okay. Yes, having played Wuchang doesn't feel entirely realized in many aspects of its design. It tries hard to imitate greatness found in games like Sekiro or Lies of P, and lacks the polish of its competitors. But hey, protagonist has jiggle physics in her butt. I can say with the utmost honesty, of the 3 friends I've talked about this game to, not once has jiggle physics been brought up. Like literally not once. Let me tell you, we don't give a fuck. We are quite fans of the female forms in video games. So once again, when you mention small but vocal minorities, that is what they are, small but vocal minorities. It's still early on in Wuchang's life cycle, and conversations around major video games can turn on a dime. Yes, like your revisionist history for what you said about Stellar Blade being a standout. I ain't letting you let go of that. You can see the tides start to change around Stellar Blade, for instance. Former PlayStation CEO Shuhei Yoshida, the biggest reason for Stellar Blade's success is its combat. Yes, the short term was absolutely Eve's looks, but the long term, what's going to make it a successful franchise, will be the gameplay. 100% will stand by that. The director of Stellar Blade, meanwhile, while defending the studio's design choices, has also acknowledged an area in which the game fell short, namely the story. Alright, It's the first game in what will likely be a franchise. The first Resident Evil, in comparison to things like 2, 3, and Code Veronica, doesn't have that deep or interesting a story. It doesn't. The lore gets added on and added to it later, and now we all just look at Resident Evil as a series with great story, or at least some of the earlier games. But the first game, when you look at it in isolation, it's just serviceable at best. It does its job of getting these cops in this haunted mansion with zombies. Like, it's that simple. The developers of Wuchang have been tight-lipped about the conversation bubbling up around their game, a wise move from a business perspective. Oh, get the fuck out of here, bro. Okay. If this was 2 years ago, maybe I'm being generous saying 2 years ago, could have been even more recent than that. If this was 2 years ago, though, let's say, this article will be throwing a fucking fit about the fact that they haven't come out and made a statement. The creators, the industry, and the studio behind it hasn't said, oh, we actually disavow these conservative gooners that are enjoying our game. Like, you can look at it as a plus that Polygon isn't saying this now. I don't. And the reason I don't is because this is veiled in its sort of dripping hypocrisy and the fact that they think they can be some sort of moral authority on the on the subject. Like I said earlier, when they say conventionally attractive instead of just attractive. Like, yes, they can say it's a wise move from a business perspective, which is what people like us have been saying forever. But the people who wrote this article, the people behind this sorts of games journalism, don't like that these companies are now having these wise moves. Again, it gives them less content. It shows that they are actually siding with the consumer instead of whatever the social flavor of the week is. And that is an L to them, but they just can't come out and say it anymore because, let's be real, they've had to lay off so many goddamn people recently. They can't afford to lose much more, or the industry, the games journal industry, Polygon, is going down as a whole. So they're going to have to be a little bit more quick, a little bit more clever, and they're going to have to choose their words a bit more carefully if they want to even have a job to begin with. At the end of the day, this article is trash, this article is dog shit, but it's also complete and utter hypocrisy. When there's being no controversy about this game really whatsoever, and the need to create one, and then even out yourselves as creating it by saying, oh, it's small and vocal. Now, I'm under no delusion I'm doing the same thing. You'd be like, Leon, you absolute hypocrite. No. I know what I'm doing. I'm not pretending not to do it. I'm making a video on an article that pretty much nobody read, talking about a group of people that are a minority. Yes, I totally acknowledge that's what I'm doing. I just find it fun. But that's just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X. You can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news nearly every day. Not just about the video game industry, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord. Choose the articles we go through on the day-to-day basis. Choose the videos to react to on the Friday night live streams. And of course, get involved with over 200 now vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further because we do care about diversity. Only one kind of diversity of thought. If that's interesting to you, join the Discord and subscribe. And until next time, it's all here in the nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.